What are you and the president afraid of? What are you hiding? You and the administration are shirking your duty to provide members of Congress a timely and complete classified briefing on Saturday about Saturday's U.S. strike on Iran, on the intelligence that justified it, on the legal justification, on the objectives, and on the consequences. Mr. Speaker, we should not have to remind you that the Constitution gives only Congress, not the President.
Carolyn Leavitt is not very good at her job, and anyone who watches this show regularly knows that we take a lot of pleasure in that her inability to lie on behalf of Donald Trump, which is the only thing she is supposed to do on behalf of Donald Trump. But sometimes when things get really tough for Carolyn, she has nothing left to do but run away. And that is exactly what she did when she was pressed on the narrative. She's trying to push that it was, evil CNN that has humiliated Donald Trump with a fake story. Even though it was really just a truthful leak out of the Pentagon, it was a horrible moment for Carolyn Leavitt that we're going to get into. But first, I want to start with the context, which is Senator Chris Murphy talking about the very lie Leavitt got herself caught in, and we can see that right here.
And that maybe is the most important fact. If we didn't destroy the 60% enriched uranium, they frankly don't need that many centrifuges in order to continue to enrich up to nuclear grade. So listen, they're mad, they're furious. You can see it in their voice because they got caught in a lie. They got caught in a lie. They went out there and said that that the nuclear capacity of Iran was obliterated, that we'd set back the program at least a year. They knew they were lying when they said it. They got caught in the lie. That's super embarrassing, and they're trying to cover up that lie with this righteous indignation, blaming everybody but themselves for the fact that they did the really unforgivable sin of national security communication. They fudged intelligence about our national security. You can't do that because, as we have seen over and over again over the course of our history, that's what gets us into unnecessary wars of choice. That's what gets not dozens or hundreds of Americans killed, but thousands of Americans killed. They're angry because they got caught lying this weekend.
I have been to that movie, and I do know how it ends. Tell me why you think this is happening, because when you look at what Donald Trump could have said, he could have said the military performed brilliantly, they successfully struck their targets, and his base would have been just as happy. Why do you think they're digging in and doubling and tripling down on this word obliterated, which, by the way, his own chairman of the Joint Chiefs did not agree with on Sunday morning?
Yeah, listen, what you said is right. The military did their job here, but one of the reasons we have been reluctant to use a overhead strike is that we, the American national security community, has known that there was a medium to low probability that we would do the kind of damage that we wanted, but that there would be then, because of the strike inside Iran, the potential for regional conflict, the potential for a lot of Americans to get killed, the potential for diplomacy as an option to disappear, as it has, at least in the short run. So the military did their job. They should be applauded for a really dangerous mission, but it's not their fault that the mission they were given had a low likelihood of success, and the standard that Donald Trump set, obliteration, was a standard that the military probably was never going to be able to achieve, given how bunkered those facilities were, and given the fact that Iran apparently had moved a lot of the uranium off-site already.
And some of the reason you could theorize is because Donald Trump kept warning them that he telegraphed this. I mean, it all feels so circular, and I wonder where you go. You're on the Foreign Relations Committee. I mean, where do you go for facts? Who do you trust today?
Well, as you mentioned, they've also announced that they're going to stop sharing intelligence with Congress because they like it when they don't get caught in their lies. They like it better when they can just make up things and there's no way that they can be caught. And And if they don't share information with Congress, then yeah, there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to just tell the American people fabrications about the risks posed to us or to the success of missions that they undergo overseas, and no one will be the wiser. I guess where do I go from here, Nicole?
There is no way that Donald Trump can spin this. He is lying. He went and dropped. There is no way that Donald Trump can spin this. His very first strike on Iran was based on a lie. His failures that he's trying to excuse continue that lie. And this idea that the Pentagon report isn't accurate or real is also another lie. I don't really know how the guy who started his presidency by saying he would end a war and there would be no new wars, but now is just continuing wars, thinks that we believe him on his war of lies. And that's again the reason why Carolyn Leavitt was struggling so much and just had to turn around and run away when she was continued to be asked questions about this evil leaker.
They took bits and pieces from a leaked top secret intelligence report, and by the way, I understand the FBI is investigating who was the source of that leak because it's an illegal leak to CNN. And this is the same fake news CNN reporter who wrote the story alleging that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which we know is one of the greatest political hoaxes this country and the American public have ever seen. And that CNN story does not change the facts. There was a total and complete obliteration of Iran's nuclear facilities, and because of the president's strike, because of the precision of our United States military and this perfectly executed mission, Iran no longer has the capability to produce a nuclear weapon as imminently as they did prior to the strike. The American people and the world should be grateful for that, and it's disgusting that CNN and the New York Times are disparaging not just the president, but our brave men and women who helped conduct this highly successful operation.
And what kind of consequence could the leaker face?
They should go to jail.
It's funny because the whole theory of the case for what Carolyn Leavitt is trying to say is that this leak, it was so terrible. It was awful. It was the worst thing that's ever happened. But when she's asked, okay, well, what will the consequences be, right? Donald Trump always makes a lot of empty threats, but he never follows them up with actions. Doge is a perfect example of this waste fraud, and abuse would ostensibly mean someone has broken the law. But where are the charges? It maybe is perhaps that no one has broken the law, and Trump and Elon were always lying. Oh, what a surprise there. But Leavitt runs away from that question. Okay, well, what's going to happen to this person? Either that, or she's just fed up with the fact that she has to continue to lie, which she's so bad at. Both of those things could be very true, but she skewered off pretty quickly, didn't she? Yeah, it wasn't such a great look, but it seems that this is not the only example of how the Trump administration as of today are allergic to the truth, because members of Congress are now reporting on the fact that their briefings of classified intelligence explaining all that Donald Trump claims is true. Yeah, they're not getting them. Just take a look.
What are you and the president afraid of? What are you hiding? You and the administration are shirking your duty to provide members of Congress a timely and complete classified briefing on Saturday about Saturday's U.S. strike on Iran, on the intelligence that justified it, on the legal justification, on the objectives, and on the consequences. Mr. Speaker, we should not have to remind you that the Constitution gives only Congress, not the President, the exclusive power to declare war. And the War Powers Resolution of 1973 requires the President, after taking military action, to provide to Congress the information it needs, and I quote, in the fulfillment of its constitutional responsibilities with respect to committing the nation to war and to the use of United States armed forces abroad. Yesterday, all members of this House, Republicans and Democrats, were to receive an already overdue classified briefing from administration officials. But moments before the briefing was scheduled to begin, you and the administration abruptly, without explanation, canceled it, leaving members of Congress and the American people in the dark. There are now reports of a leaked, classified battle damage assessment from the Defense Intelligence Agency that disputes what the President and the Secretary of Defense have been telling us. The American people are left wondering, are the President and the Secretary telling the truth? So again, I ask you, Mr. Speaker, what are you and the President afraid of? What are you trying to hide?
So if Donald Trump and his claim that the sites in Iran were completely destroyed, if that was rock solid true, why wouldn't you share that intelligence but doesn't? It seem to not be connecting there. It was like Elon with Doge. He was always so proud to fire off all of his tweets, but he would never come before Congress to testify under oath. It seems like these people are lying. And the lies continued today in a hearing in which Senator Adam Schiff so perfectly grilled one of Donald Trump's DOJ stooges over his lies, left him unable to speak. I want to take a look right here.
Turn to the meeting that Mr. Ravani, the whistleblower, has written an extensive complaint about. The hearing started with the chairman reading a social media post by the Deputy Attorney General Blanche, who is present today but not under oath, nor is that social media post under oath. So let me ask you, since you are under oath, in the complaint it says, Beauvais stated that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts, fuck you, and ignoring any such court order. Did you say anything of that kind in the meeting?
Senator, I have no recollection of saying anything of that kind. To the extent I
Wouldn't you recall, Mr. Beauvais, if you said or suggested during a meeting with Justice Department lawyers that maybe they should consider telling the court, fuck you? It seems to me that would be something you'd remember, unless that's the kind of thing you say frequently.
Well, I've certainly said things encouraging litigators at the department to fight hard for valid positions that we have to take in defense of our clients.
And have you frequently suggested that they say fuck you and ignore court orders? Is that also something you frequently do, such you might not remember doing it on this occasion?
No, and as I explained, I have never directly...
So did you or did you not make those comments during that meeting?
Which comments, Senator?
You really need me to repeat it? Did you suggest, as Mr. Ravani wrote, that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts, fuck you, and ignore any such court order?
I did not suggest that there would be any need to consider ignoring court orders. At the point of that meeting, there were no court orders to discuss.
Well, did you suggest telling the courts, fuck you, in any manner?
I don't recall.
You just don't remember that. Well, let me ask you this.
If you are unwilling and unable to answer some pretty basic questions, again goes back to the intelligence briefing. Maybe you're lying, or maybe you're breaking the law, but that would be nothing new for this Trump administration, and that's why we got to cover it every day, which we will of course be doing on this show. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.